Hi everyone, welcome to Homerino Collectibles, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Warbotron WB01-C Sly Strike. So Sly Strike is their version of Swindle from the Combaticons, which form Bruticus, in this case called Warbotron. And here we have the outer packaging, so we have the sleeve that goes over the main packaging, and on the back we have the nice image that does actually show quite a lot of Warbotron there, so that when all the boxes are stacked up, you'll be able to actually see a nice big picture of it. And then here we have the main box itself. As you can see, it says Sly Strike and the name of the set, and then we also have ages 15 plus. And then on the back we have a slightly more clear image of the figure than on the previous two, and then we also have the name and stuff again, and then down here at the bottom you have some contact details for Warbotron if you want to check them out, and then on the side you have more product info right there. So very nice. Let's get this thing open and see what we have inside. So first up out of the box we have the instruction sheet and the collector card. The reason that this is bad is because the previous two, being Heavy, Noisy and Airburst, they actually came with not just a nice collector card like this, which is very cool, so if you want to check out those stats you can pause that now, but they also came with a nice comic book that had the instructions included in the back, and it did say to be continued into, issue 3 or whatever. Well, this should contain issue 3, but they just gave us the instructions, which is really a bummer. The instructions are good and they are, the size that they would be inside that book and everything, but you don't get a continuation of that comic. Now in the next one, Whirlwind, remains to be seen if that comic does carry on. Like, there may only be 4 issues of the comic and they just missed one out with Sly Strike, or maybe for this particular Transformer they didn't have the money or something, or couldn't get that printed in time, so they could only get the instructions sorted out or something. But it's kind of a letdown for this figure that it doesn't come with the same stuff that the previous two ones did, but nonetheless it's okay. And here we have Sly Strike, or Swindle, itself out of the packaging, and it is a very, very nice vehicle mode right here. I would show it you in comparison to the Fans Project Munitioner, but that's part of the combiner right now, and I don't really want to go ahead and take that down to do that. But it is a lot bigger. It is a more Voyager sized vehicle as to that, which was like a Scout sized vehicle. So you're going to be able to have a lot more detail on this than that. But I do personally feel more attached to that because it was my first third party item. So I do prefer Munitioner Explorer and that Bruticus more than this one for that respect. But for the actual detail and just the Transformer itself and everything, I do prefer these guys over that version. So looking around this thing, you can see that there's some very, very nice detail. Obviously you get your brake lights and everything, even the lights on the side and stuff. Very, very cool. It is kind of strange that you got the windows, but then you can see on the other side there's like a little bit of a gap. This section back here isn't like fully filled in or anything, but it'll do. It's pretty good. As you can see, you've got storage for your weapons up here. This one isn't really supposed to be used that much with this guy, because I can't really get it into his hand that much in vehicle mode. Like, this doesn't really want to sit in his hand very well, so if you can get it in there, fair enough, but I haven't had much luck with that really, and that doesn't really fit too much either. So that, I'm guessing, is mainly just for the a pistol for Warbotron really, but it looks pretty cool. It does have that bit of purple translucent plastic there, whether you like it or not, fair enough. But if you want to take that off and not use it, that's fine. You can just have this standard gun on here, which looks pretty good itself, and that I can get this guy to use perfectly fine in robot mode. Now, one thing to mention about this is it has this little piece right here. Now with the other two, I did show that they did come with extra pieces that just fill in some gaps and whatnot, and that's fine. This piece right here, if I can get it off, there we go. As you can see, it just sits into that little screw hole right there, and then it still has a peg hole there if you want to put something in it. And it does go on his shoulder as well in robot mode. It's not included in the contents, but it comes as a separate piece. So you don't need to use it, obviously, but because it's not in the contents, it makes you feel like, well, where the hell does this actually go? So if you look in the instructions, you have to look closely at the pictures and see, oh right, it's actually on the picture, but it doesn't tell you where to put it. So if you don't want it there, fair enough, but if you do want it on and you don't want a random piece left out, it does actually sit right there in vehicle mode, and I'll show you where it can go in robot mode as well. But before we get to robot mode, I'll just show you the combiner mode. So what we're going to do is just lift this up. You can do whatever you want with it, really. I'm just showing you this really quick, but when you open it all up and you lift those away and bring that down, your connector port is right there, and you're going to go ahead and put the foot in right down here, and it's just going to sit up like so. So very, very simple, just like Heavy Noisy, very, very simple to get to that mode, but for the most part, I don't really need to show that in too much detail, really. It's very self-explanatory. It's not like Airburst where you have to half transform it to get to an arm or anything. It's pretty much just going to be like that. You just have to open that up to get the connector port out. So for the actual transformation into robot mode, what we're going to go ahead and do is basically open up these door flaps. And this is, one of the problems that I have with this figure. You unpeg it there and you unpeg it there, and it's pegged in under here as well and everything. That's just fine. But this long piece right here, the hinge is here, so it's not in the middle, and where you got to tug on it, as you can see, I didn't peg it in extremely tightly, but the peg's on the end here, and where you've got to actually tug is right here. You can get in, but if yours is tight, mine's not very tight, but if it is, you haven't really got much leverage there to be able to push it out, so you have to pull at the other side, and as you can see, when you pull, you're kind of bending it a little bit. So for me, it's not a problem because that's not tight, but for you, if that is a tight fit, be very careful, because that is thinner, like this whole top section here is thinner plastic than really what's used in the rest of the figure, really. So, like I said, just be careful. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold this piece down, fold that piece up, and it's going to go on there like so. As you can see, this end is a little bit tighter, so I'm just being very careful right here. Just pulling both sides, making sure that I don't break it. And then you get those flipped up, and you can also flip this up if you wish to, the front section, just to get it moved out of the way a little bit. And what we're going to do, this whole rear section, it can just come down, bend down, and become the feet down here. So we're going to get these feet, these black bits, the heel parts, they come out, and then you can push the foot down. And then this piece that was just lifted up to give that a bit of clearance, you can push that back down right there. It comes down, put that down, come around to the back. We can split the legs apart. As you can see, this piece has already come down just from the way I was holding it. But you flip that down, that fills in the back, and then you flip this piece down, and that fills in the side. So instead of having hollow legs that you can see through and look horrible, it fills it in really nice. And that is the only reason that they are there. So it's really nice that they did actually include that so that you don't have horrible looking legs. So that's those done. Now what we're going to do, if I just bring the camera up a little bit more so that you can see what's going on up here, we're going to just move out these wheels so that they're untabbed and bring them down. And then on this hinge, the arms are going to come up and tab into place, as you can see, like so. Do that on the other side as well. Just get those round and tabbed into place. Get that pushed in, a bit tough, there we go. And then we're going to just rotate the arms around so that they're facing that way, and then we're going to rotate them like that. Rotate, rotate, rotate. There we go. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to bring this whole piece down, and that's going to tab in. So it tabs in. These two little bits that stick out stick into those holes right there. It's fine to tab in. As you can see, you get a nice click, and that's sorted. Pulling it back out is very hard because it's got to kind of get clearance to come out and go up. So just make sure that you're not just pulling straight up because you might shear them off. Pull kind of out and up to get those pulled out. It can be quite tough. We're going to open up these pieces. Now, just like Heavy Noisy, it's going to help you massively if you undo this screw right here just a little bit, just so that it helps you get this hand out, because it's really, really tough to get this hand out. I'm really pushing on that piece now. and you know, it's very, very hard. Usually I have to actually use something, which I might do now actually. See if I've got anything around me to be able to get into that gap. I'll just use this tiny little screwdriver here just to give me a bit of leverage on this hand and help me to pull it out. There we go. And then you just close the arm up again, and that tabs into place if you get it lined up. There we go. And then you're going to rotate that hand as well so that it's the right way around with the thumb facing up. And then I'll just do the same with the other side over here. But yeah, these are extremely tight, like even tighter than heavy noises and air bursts and whatnot. You know, these hands are just really, really tight to flip out. So just be careful. You don't want to break it or anything. See, I definitely recommend undoing those screws. I undid them and you could see how hard that was. So yeah, definitely I do recommend that you go ahead and do that. And then you can do whatever you want with these wheels. You can leave them like so, or you could put them on the inside or whatever. I just leave them as they are right there because it just gives you good clearance for when the arm is moving around. So now what we're going to do is sort out the backpack and bring the chest over. So if we bring the head up, that just comes up like so. In the instructions, it basically tells you, you know, just to fold this all down and pretty much do that. And then bring this piece over. I mean, if you really do like that as a chest, it looks fine. You could leave it like that, obviously, if you wanted to, but then you've just got all this emptiness right here. But this actually untabs. And that's, you know, it doesn't show you to do that in the instructions. And if you look on the underside, you can actually see where those screws are. Those panels actually slide. So what we're going to do is collapse these top panels like so, and then they click into place like so. Then they're just a little bit shorter, and then you can go ahead and fold them up, and then you can angle them in a little bit, and you can do whatever you want with those, because they are on just little hinges right here, as you can see. Then this top piece we're gonna unhook from the front, just like you do to get it into the limb mode. And then this black section here, we're gonna lift that up so it gives clearance over the head as you bring it up. It's gonna come down, we're gonna lift up this black piece, and then it basically just comes down and sits on the back like so, filling in that top piece. So there's, you know, lots of things that you can do with that, but basically in collapsing that a little bit, you can't see it as much around the sides from the front, and yeah, it just looks much better than what the instructions actually tell you to do. But that is the proper way to do it, because otherwise, you know, you wouldn't need to be able to collapse that and everything. It just doesn't show you that in the instructions, which is a little bit strange. And then in exactly the same place as it was in vehicle mode, but you do have to take it off to obviously move the hinge and stuff, you can go ahead and put this back on the shoulder right there, and it does actually show you on the pictures that that's where it goes in the instructions, but obviously it doesn't actually count it as a step. But that is where that goes, so that it's a little bit higher, so that if you wish, you could put the gun on there, but you can kind of get it in there anyway. But you know, it fits in there very nice. If that's where you want it to go, or if you want to put that gun right there, you can do. Like I said, I do actually have a hard time getting this in his hand, because I can get that in just about, and that's fine, but it's kind of, you know, it's not very much into the hand really, and with this one I can't get that in there at all really. So I think it is more designed with the size of it as well to be a pistol for Warbotron. So you know, it does kind of fit, but it's not fantastic really. You know, really this is the gun that is designed to be his pistol in robot mode. And in this form, this figure is really fantastic and just as good as the previous two. So, you know, as long as when you're transforming it, you're just being careful of these pieces, because they are a bit thinner. And yeah, it can be a little tricky to get those hands out. But as you saw, just like the previous two, it's not like a super hard third-party transformer. It is pretty simple enough to get this guy transformed, and it's enjoyable. You don't really feel like you're going to break it too much. You do feel like you're going to break it a bit more than the others, just really with this back section, but for the most part it does feel sturdy enough and it just looks fantastic. As you can see, you've got some blue, purple, silvers and whatnot in there, just like the previous two. Really fantastic light piping. I don't think it's as good as the other two, but it is pretty good. As you can see, it does take up all the back of the head right there. And as for the articulation in this mode, the head is on a ball joint. It can look left and right, it swivels side to side, looks up and down. In some positions it is a little bit more wiggly, and then in some positions it's a little bit more tight, so it just depends on where you move that with the ball joint, but that does sometimes happen with ball joints. At the shoulders here, they rotate all the way around. The arms can come out like so. He does have a rotation in the arm and a single jointed elbow which moves forward and back, and then you also get the wrist swivel, and the hands can open and close. We get the waist swivel right there. The hips can come out all the way. They can go a little bit back, but they go all the way forward nicely. Rotation at the thigh. We have a very good knee joint right there, and then we also have the really nice feet down here. So you got the ball joints at the bottom, so that compensates for your ankle pivot, and then due to transformation they can move up and down, and they move left and right a little bit too, so you can angle the feet however you wish. And this guy is very stable with those nice big heel pieces. So even though you've got a bit of a backpack here, it is light thin plastic really compared to the rest of the figure, so the heels do a very good job of keeping this guy stable. So as a size comparison, it stands about Voyager height. As you can see next to the deluxe Windblade, it is a good deal taller than her, so very good size, and I did review this kind of recently, so you can go and check that video out if you wish. So very good size. Like I said with the other two so far as well, they have a good heft to them. Now, they all kind of weigh about the same, and they all stand about the same size, but he is definitely smaller in robot mode than the other two. In vehicle mode, he actually is about the same size as the tank from Heavy Noisy right there. Obviously the turret does bring it out to be a bit longer really, but in robot mode he doesn't stand as tall, and I think that looks fantastic. And so far this team is looking really awesome. So yes, I guess you could say it's not as good as the other two in the way that it doesn't have that comic book, but as long as it does carry on with Whirlwind, that should be perfectly fine. He comes with great accessories just like the other guys. I mean, I do quite like this gun, but I would prefer to just have him stood up with that one really in robot mode, but I would definitely give this to Warbotron. That would be a really nice looking pistol. The smirk on his face definitely does resemble Swindle, and the overall look is just fantastic, just like the other two here as well. So I definitely do recommend this figure if you found the Combaticons and if you have the money to splash out on them. If not, I'm sure we're going to be getting a Combiner Wars Bruticus at some point this year or next year, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you are a fan of Bruticus like me, and he is your favourite combiner, then I would definitely say go out and get this. It's going to be a very tall combiner, and it's just going to look absolutely fantastic. Definitely the best versions of the Combaticons so far. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more pictures of these guys once I've got the whole team out and you can see them all in vehicle mode and in robot mode together, and obviously in the combiner form as Warbotron as well, then go ahead and check out my Instagram and Twitter. It's Homerino123 for both, and links are in the description below. And if you want to check out more of these reviews and other Transformers reviews too, go ahead and subscribe. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.